This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video. You're looking for a continuous hinge, and you want help determining what you need.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's awfully easy.
Yeah. Well, I thought it would be pretty easy myself, but actually, what I want to do is, okay, you like where your frame of your door is, right?
Okay, where the frame is.
Right, and then like how you normally put your hinge in there, you'd have the three places in there for your hinge. Well, I'm wanting to be able to go down that side and like cover up where it's going to be continuous, so it's going to cover up where the three original hinges were.
Between the door
and bolt
frame.
in. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And then before we get down that path too far, that's probably not going to work, and here's why. When you have a door and a frame made for what they call a full mortise hinge, even though the hinge isn't mortised or maybe full concealed, you've got to have some allowance in the undersize of the door. So unless there was one there to begin with, that's not going to be possible in an existing application.
Well, this is what I wanted to do, though. I wanted it to bolt in there, which I understand. You're going to have the thickness of the plate, right? Right. And then I was wanting the other piece to bolt through my door, through the like from the outside, bolt through it with some of those, what do they call them? Section bolts?
Sex bolts. Yes, sir.
Yes.
So you want to have one leaf to go to the face of the door, and then the other leaf to mount in the rabbet of the frame like it normally would.
Right, and you don't think that's going to work unless I have enough clearance between them?
Well, it's possible that will work, but it's unlikely that it will work because while you need less room, you still need more room than what is typically allowed. So what we'll do is we're going to pull up a drawing of what that hinge requires, and I'm going to guess it's every bit of 3/16. Let's take a look.
Okay. Well, the only thing about mounting it, if I mounted it, I know I've seen some that like mounted to the face of it.
Full surface, yes, sir.
Right. But I got siding on the building, so that would put me taking all the siding down.
Right.
To be able to get in there to it.
Yeah, so exactly. All right, let's take a look and see what kind of room.
I've got a number here of one that I had. Let me get a look at it real quick to see how it was mounted. Let me find it back here. Oh. Okay, let's see. See if it can need to be how they had it mounted. How in the world? Still figuring this one out. Maybe I do need to go over here and look at the fronts of these doors. Okay. See, because this one was mounted, but I might need to go look at my frame over there and see if I can, because this hinge here is like what you're saying, is not mounted. It's mounted to the actual front, the frame, and then the other part was bolted through the door. So I'm wondering if I might need to check a little more and see, but I want to say I got some that do have that continuous hinge on them already that I thought was, they've got some. I'm trying to think how in the world. I know we have some that are mounted like to the actual inside frame, like I was talking about.
Sure.
But instead of being bolted through the door, it just has a bunch of bolt holes going all the way down the door, and they're like self-tappers not self-tappers, but they are self-tappers. They tap right into the door, like in the one side, all the way down that strip, and then you put a little strip in there to hide it. Well, they don't seem to hold up. After a little bit, they're loose, and that's not holding up. And then you got to tighten them, and they won't tighten. So I was thinking maybe I can get the ones that bolt through. Now, the one I have out here, and like I said, this could be a totally different brand from what y'all deal with. The number I got off of it is a 59Y9. If that ring any bells?
No, not at all. I would have that's some sort of stamping of the extrusion, or maybe it's a listing. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know where would I look on it to find anything like what I need.
In general, you don't see names or part numbers on continuous hinges.
Okay. Well, that's all I could find on it was that. I didn't really take the sleeves off and look under them where they got the bolts hid.
Yeah, I wouldn't do any of that because it's just not going to be there. So the hinge that mounts to the edge of the frame normally and then to the surface of the door, that's called a half surface hinge. You need to have about 100, half surface. You need to have about 190 thousandths or 3/16 of an inch between the edge of the door and the frame on that side of the hinge.
How much again now?
3/16.
3/16.
But then you got to
between
have
the frame.
an inch. Yeah.
Okay, and a 1/8 inch on the other side.
Yes, sir. So that means 5/16. So your door's got to be 5/16 smaller than the inside frame width. And if it's not, people will try to put 10 pounds of sausage in a 10-pound bag. It's just not going to fit.
Okay. So if that don't work, then what do you?
So why do you want to go to a continuous hinge? Have your hinges failed?
Oh yes. So we can't find anything to hold up. Even the continuous ones don't work, but they last longer.
Yeah, the problem is aluminum is the problem. Aluminum storefront. Nothing's welded. It's all screwed together. It's baloney as far as I'm concerned. Give me a hollow metal door frame any day, and it'll stay.
It is. No, that's what we got. We have the hollow metal doors.
Okay, so then in that case,
the doors don't even hold up.
What's the application? Is it a high school?
No, this is a shipyard.
Aha. Well, I can only think that it could be the doors are underspecified originally. It could be that what you're buying is just not up to the task. Certainly, because
I mean, they bought they're actually I guess considered some kind of I'm assuming there's some kind of storm door rating, fire rating. They're metal. and they're like riveted. I guess it's not riveted, but that what do they call it? Like spot welded. They're like spot welded together. Does that sound right?
Well, I mean, spot welding is a type of welding used to construct steel doors and frames. Sure, higher caliber ones will not just solely rest on spot welds. They're continuously welded down the edges.
I got you. Well, do y'all sell doors too?
Turns out, yes, we do.
Yes. Okay. Well, what kind of door would you recommend as far as to see what's going on with ours? Is you got like where the hinges bolt up? You have your 3 hinges, and where they bolt up, there's a my bad. There is a little bar about maybe 1/4 inch thick, I'm guessing, piece of metal in there that's maybe a foot long, and then it's like it's tack welded inside the door, right?
Yeah,
and then your right. Okay. And these doors, they take so much abuse that those welds break in there.
Yeah.
So we went to
just by your description, and the door is a standard grade door. A door that's made of 16 or 14 gauge steel is going to have a continuous channel. The entire hinge side is a single piece of steel that is prepped directly to receive the hinges. So there's a tremendous amount of welding that's done on that application, not just a couple of spot weld pinches top and bottom. And what happens on the spot welding is the electrodes. Think of I'm talking to a guy at a shipyard, so you know what I'm talking about.
Right, I do.
On a crab, those electrodes, they don't penetrate real good, and the person building the door doesn't know when it's time to change the electrode because they're not getting penetration. Bam, weld failure.
Well, even that, I mean, you'll go over there because the wind's so bad here. And see, I keep trying to get them to upgrade the actual door closures too, because we go through them right and left. But I more or less just give up on that. They're going to get them the 4040 XP, which, I mean, it's a decent hinge. But the wind will grab them, pull them around, and then next thing you know, the whole door's shifting, So then we'll bolt the closure all the way through the door to sort of try to hold the door together. And they're not all that way. They don't all get the same abuse, but they get a lot. If you could give me, say, I would need a steel door or whatever, metal door, and then I would need whatever my standard that you got to have in it to be able to see through the glass.
Sure.
I'm assuming that's like a hurricane-proof glass or whatever they call it. I don't think they go by that. They go by something else as far as. But yes, it need to have whatever the minimum. I know they make some that's little narrow windows in one side. Because I know that costs a pretty good bit.
These, what state is this material installed in?
I'm in Mobile, Alabama.
Okay, so you're on the coast, obviously.
Right on the coast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Yeah, having material that's rated rated for the appropriate local code. It's obviously going to be extreme weather, hurricane code. But in terms, it just sounds like you need heavier gauge material so that you get full welding and you get much thicker steel. Regarding the wind grabbing those doors, you need to have overhead stops in addition to the 4040 XPs. You have to have that slide track up there. No, not chains. Chains are no good for this. Chains are going to rip right out. It's a proper slide channel, something that you would put on, the front of a sports stadium or the Greyhound bus station, because that's what you have. You've got that level of use on the doors. So overhead stops would be the appropriate thing to retard that thing from getting ripped off the hinges and then bending the door and hurting someone. But it does sound like you should be at 16 or maybe even 14 gauge steel on the doors and then 14 or maybe 12 gauge on the frames. That stuff's indestructible. I mean, now the frames themselves, they're pretty heavy duty. But the doors just are not holding up. How wide are the
Even
doors?
though I'm not going, they're 30, I think 35 3/4.
Sure, 3-foot doors, sure. So, you might want a 5-inch tall hinge, a heavyweight hinge, if you stick with butt hinges, or the problem is you've got to order the door and frame with the continuous hinge reinforced. There's extra, when the doors are manufactured, they literally put additional steel so that you can drill and tap all those holes. In 30 years, the first person who's told me their continuous hinge is failing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, what's actually failing on them is where, like I said, they're screwed in just to the front. Now, we have actually bolted some all the way through, and they work their way loose. They'll work their way loose, and I'll have to go back and retighten them, which I can do that. But the ones that just screw into the, one face of the door, I guess they get so much abuse, especially the ones that's in the bad wind parts. And the screws, you go back and try to tighten them, and one time you only got 2 or 3 that won't tighten. Well, a little while later you go back, and then there's 10 of them that won't tighten. So yeah, they get some abuse.
But for sure, what you've described is when the door has not been reinforced, and the self-tappers, that's awful. In terms of longevity, you've got to have that 125,000 steel behind the face of the skin, which is probably 60 thousandths. Then you got to drill and tap each of those individually. At that point, it's not coming off. I mean, you'd have to drive a truck into it accidentally to get that to break. But the reason it's failing is because they're just probably stock doors that are not been reinforced for continuous hinges. Whenever you do a job with continuous hinges or any hardware at all, not only does it have to be prepared for it, like templated for it, but it has to be reinforced. I would suspect that's the reason you're having failure of the hinge or the installation.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably it, because every one of them I've run across is either it's only got that strip in there that's about a 12-inch piece of metal that the hinge is screwed into, and then after so long, you'll see where it'll start coming loose on the door. You can tell it was spot welded, and it's breaking loose. And then they break loose, and then after that, well, what do you got? The door, not wanting to do right. It's flopping around.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you could send me something, do y'all have a sheet on these doors that you could email me?
Yeah, it's just, of course. That's regular stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I still would prefer to do the continuous hinge, you know, and put the sex bolts through them, just to be on the safe side of the abuse that they get. I've even went to changed out the handles because the handles was messing up so bad, and I went to I tried putting the panic door openers that you just push. Well, yeah, they don't last either. So
yeah, it's all got to be reinforced, drilled and tapped, or through bolted. So yeah, absolutely. I can send you a cut sheet of that material. You know, I've thrown 16 gauge, 14 gauge doors at applications that take obnoxious abuse. You know, when it's manufactured to take the hardware reinforced and tapped, it really should last. And I think what you need is just, you know, what I would call a proper set of hardware and a proper set of doors and frames to handle the application, and then go from there.
Okay.
Or because that stuff is so much more expensive to do it that way, you can say, well, I'm just going to keep a couple of these regular doors, these 18 gauge insulated doors laying around, and when they fail, I'll just replace them because it's a lot less expensive material wise. But
right.
You wouldn't, you know, you have to decide how to proceed with that.
Well, I know, and it's all up to them buying it too. Because
right.
I tried to get them to get some. What was I think it was like a fiberglass door.
Those are cool.
And
don't see why you would want that though.
Well, because we end up too, they'll start rusting and stuff.
That's true, but you get hollow metal that's galvanized. You can store those outside in the winter. They're not going to rust on you.
I got you. Okay.
Do a galv over steel. It is. You don't have. Will you eventually have that problem? Of course. Will stainless steel eventually rust in Mobile? Of course it will. But dollar for dollar, when galvanizing costs $50 and the door you're talking about is north of $1,000 each, the problem is well, they're great doors, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not convinced.
Okay. Now I know that glass, you'll have something on there for the glass too.
Well, getting an assembly that is made to code that will have a vision frame is going to be based on working with the manufacturer and what they've tested. So I know that you can put the ability to see through a door. I don't know off the top of my head the limitation of what's permissible. I know you could do something. I just don't know how big it can be. But you know, we'll obviously find out what that story is.
Okay. Yeah, we had even talked, you know, me and one of my coworkers talking about maybe trying to put a sliding door in so they wasn't swinging so much. But then you got the codes on. You got
handicap code, yeah.
Being not necessarily a handicap, but just being an exit door needing to swing out. They said.
Sure, handicap code, egress
they
code,
called it something.
Fire code,
egress. Yes, egress.
The document is NFPA 101 is the governing document.
Hold on, let me write that down. How you spell egress? EGG.
RES. Don't ask me. I'm from Chicago. If it's not hot dog, I get lost.
That's right. Well, what did you say that was again? What was that code again?
So it's NFPA as in November, Foxtrot, Papa Alpha, 101.
You said NF?
Foxtrot, yes, sir. F as in Foxtrot.
Oh, okay. NFPA
101.
All right, let me write that down there. Okay, let's see, 101. And that's the code. That's like
It's not the code, it's the standard. And what happens is when the National Fire Protection Agency creates the standard, which they update it every 3 years generally, when your local when your local municipality adopts the 101 standard, it then becomes code. So technically, you'd have to find out what code you're running on and what they refer to. But NFPA 101 is everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay.
It's going to be there. Yeah.
And if I look that up,
NFPA 80 and 101 are the two books that you need to have. One's the fire code, one's the fire standard, the other's the life safety standard. If you're gonna have two books when it comes to doors, that is your A to N and O to Z. That covers it all.
Okay, them are books then.
They are.
Okay.
The NFPA.org maybe you'll be able to find it.
Okay.
Well, I can't say you're going to find it. They sell that book, so you'll have the ability to buy one. I don't know where to get one for free. Every time, when I've bought them, I've had to buy them. So.
Okay. Maybe our safety department's got them.
I would be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah. Somebody ought to have one that I can look at, or somebody will. If they want, whatever it takes. I do know they're supposed to, have the visibility on being able to go out of the doors. And they stuck some in. They stuck 3 of them in one time without, and they were supposed to come back and do them, put them in. Well, that's been about 4 years ago, and all of them's already tore up already. So anyway.
Well, they wouldn't be able to cut those in. You'd have to, if you're doing a hurricane door, that would have to come from the factory built that way.
I got you. Hey, whatever works, man. I don't know how they come about it. They were saying they'd come back and do it later. That's all I know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's just
Yeah. It didn't happen though.
That's yeah. So this is a good conversation, a very good start. How about if I take your email, then send you some information?
Yes, sir. That'd be great.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.